Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of a new launch analysis, and today we're going to tackle another new development coming up in the Bukit Timah area. This time it is called Dunearn House. So if you're somebody who loves the Bukit Timah area because of its prestige or familiarity, this could be the one for you, because this one is actually located at the start of the whole Turf City transformation. And that whole area will have a lot of things happening in the next 10, 15, 20 years. So being the first one at the start of all that construction could be exciting, but is this the right one for you? Let's deep dive into it. So for our content agenda, I will start by sharing a little bit more about the project information for Dunearn House. And then of course, I'm going to move into the Turf City transformation and its potential. Next, I'm also going to talk about Dunearn House comparison against other Bukit Timah condominiums, mainly the newer ones. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the floor plan and the price overview so you can decide for yourself if this is the right one for you. So to kickstart with the project information, Dunearn House is a 99-year leasehold condominium with a total of 380 units ranging from 2-bed, 1-bath all the way to the 4-bedroom plus study. So expected TOP is going to be 31st December 2030, but again, I expect this to be a little bit shorter, and the developers will likely give us a better indication when the preview starts. There's a total of 228 car park lots in the whole development. Considering it's quite near 6th Avenue MRT, I think this is quite sufficient for the 380 units. So here you can also see the unit mix. You can see that this is a breakdown of the specific unit types. A good portion of it is going to be the 2 bedrooms followed by the 3 and the 4. What I'm expecting is also quite a lot of investors looking into Dunearn House just because of the quantum and the potential entry price for this plot. And if you talk about location, this is where it is going to be. Dunearn House is that green shaded plot in the photo, and you can see that that whole brown plot over there is the Turf City transformation. That is going to be a huge, massive area where the government is putting in a lot of redevelopment to bring in more inclusive housing, amenities, and all of that. So today, buying to Dunearn House, you potentially have that first mover advantage in a way that all the future developments coming to Turf City as it gets more developed will likely be a little bit more expensive. When amenities have been put into the area, prices will likely be more expensive as well. So here are some photos of the development. There's a total of 5 blocks in the whole development. You can see that the block behind is 19 stories overlooking the grandstand, and you're going to have the landed view. The blocks in front, the 3 blocks, are going to be 10 stories looking over Dunearn Road. Here's a sneak peek of how the pool looks like along with the arrival plaza. So if you'd like to see Dunearn House Showflat in person, the Showflat is opening very soon from the 10th of July to the 21st of July, with the launch happening on the 25th of July. So you know what to do. You can reach out to me via my WhatsApp number directly. If you want to have a discussion one-on-one, or if you have any specific requirements or thoughts, comments on Dunearn House and you would like a second opinion, you can reach out to me directly, and I look forward to having that conversation with you. So with Dunearn House being the start of the whole Turf City transformation, we have to talk about that a little bit. And what I'm going to show you firstly is the master plan from 2019 to where it is now. So if you can see, the master plan in 2019, this whole Turf City area is just slated for residential. There's no detailed planning yet. It's just subjected to detailed planning like what you would see in the master plan. If you fast forward to the master plan that has been released last year, you can see very specific plans here. You can see that the site have been split up. There's going to be many residential coming in. What I would say is some of the more interesting side, if you look into the light green side, that is slated for sports and recreation. So that is where the current grandstand is at. Beside it is a park that is in dark green. If you look into the light red plots over here, they are going to be residential with the first level commercial shops. So you know that what the government is envisioning for Turf City is really this all-encompassing neighborhood. You know, you have residential, you have parks, you have sports and recreational facilities. So they do want to retain that Turf City aspect as well. And the best part of all of this is that in the midst of this area here, there's also going to be Turf City MRT that's coming in. So that's going to be on the Cross Island line where you will go down to Maju, King Albert Park, all the way to Clementi, Jurong area. And on the other side, you can actually go on the Cross Island line to Hougang, Serangoon North, all the way to Changi Airport. So definitely, there's going to be a lot of convenience coming into this area. And don't forget, we also have 6th Avenue MRT along Dunearn Road. So once the Turf City is really fully rebuilt, I think that this area will be thriving. You have everything you need within the 10-minute radius. So this is also what we got from the URA plans. You can see where the MRT exactly is at, and the areas that are circled in red here, they're actually going to be proposed amenities zone. And what the government is also starting is to widen Bukit Timah Road and Dunearn Road, because these roads are traditionally, if you drive, you will know that they are a little bit congested because of all the schools. That is definitely good because it will help to ease congestion in the area. And this is also more images that I have took out from URA. You can see that they are envisioning retail options, like I said, at the grandstand. The grandstand will remain to pay that kind of heritage homage to Turf City. A lot of green spaces in the future neighborhood, sports facilities, schools, health, medical facilities, and also a bus interchange. If you're somebody who is very forward-looking and you see real estate as a long-term plan, then this could be something that you want to buy in right now, because prices is actually quite low in terms of the land bid price, which means developers, if they are not aggressive, they can actually sell you at quite a good price. So why do I say that Dunearn House land bid is at quite a good price? So we look into the price that the developer has bought this land for is actually 1,410 PSF. So the break even translates to about 2,300 plus. If we add in a 23% profit margin, they can start from about 2,900, 27% about 3,000, and then beyond that will be about 3,100. So they bought this land June 2025 at 1,410 PSF. So if you know, Vela Bay, which is an OCR plot, recently sold quite high. Their land bid price was actually 1,388 PSF, and that is for outside Central Region plot. Dunearn House, this is a core Central Region plot. But what is interesting is just next door to Dunearn House, Wing Tai recently also made a bid for a land that's right beside, and then they bidded this land April 2026, so just a couple of months ago, and the land bid price is at 1,625 PSF per plot ratio. So what this means is that for Wing Tai coming in next year, the plot that they had to sell beside Dunearn House will likely have to be more expensive because the break-even is a lot more expensive for this piece of land. If we look down further towards the Newton area, closer to the MRT, HH Investment, they've topped the bid for Bukit Timah GLS at 1,820 PSF PPR. This is actually very close to Newton MRT, just right beside. And just early in June, CDL bidded another piece of land close to Newton MRT, and this time it's at 1,865 PSF per plot ratio. So if you're somebody who traditionally already liked the whole Bukit Timah stretch, all the way from Newton all the way up to King Albert Park, you can see that prices here likely will be more expensive because all this land has set a benchmark. Developers have the confidence of coming into it, and further lands coming into the Turf City area because of what the government plans are. If they keep announcing plans and they are finalized, likely developer will have more confidence going into it at a stronger price because they do know that the Singapore government, when they say that they're going to build something, they're going to do it, and all these amenities will come and the land will be better valued, so they will likely be able to sell better as well. And for people who are considering a purchase at Dunearn House, some of the common concerns will be that the unit sizes are a little bit too small, especially if you grew up in Bukit Timah area. Likely you'll be coming from a little bit more of an affluent family. You are maybe used to the size, they are bigger, whereas Dunearn House is more in line with the newer developments nowadays. The sizes are a little bit too small. So what I'm going to show you here is two developments that are also newer in the Bukit Timah area. One is 4th Avenue Residences. This is also a 99-year leasehold property, and then second is Royal Green. This is a freehold property, and if you see where they are situated, they are actually just across from where Dunearn House is going to be at. So if you look into the performance for both Royal Green and 4th Avenue residences, if you look into the average PSF from the start to where we are now, there's actually not much growth for Royal Green, which is a freehold property. For 4th Avenue residences, it's a little bit better at 1.5% growth annually. But if you have seen some of my previous videos, you see some of the gains that people can get in the outside central region, rest of central region. This is actually not a very good performance. In the next couple of slides, I'm going to deep dive into the performance of a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, and a 4-bedroom. So you can see the reason why the overall numbers are not good is because some of the unit types actually perform better than others. So if you look into the recent transaction at 4th Avenue Residences, first, for the 2-bedroom at a size of 689 square feet to 710 square feet, you can see that the resale prices for this is at 1.7 all the way to $1.9 million. If you look into the profit is actually quite meager from 82 to 87,000, which isn't really great for a 2-bedroom. If we look into the 3-bedroom here, which is the smaller 3-bedroom and the bigger 3-bedroom, for the smaller one at 947 square feet, the sale transaction is at 2.65 million. For the bigger one, sale transaction at $3.15 million. Here, they did perform a little bit better. Profits from 377,000 all the way to $520,000. And if we look into the 4-bedroom, there's only one transaction here, sold at $3.88 million. Profit is $294,000. So I think this is quite interesting because we can see that the bigger bedroom types generally did better as compared to the smaller bedroom types. What's interesting is also I pull out the initial PSF. So if you look into the 710 square feet 2-bedroom unit, the initial PSF is at 2,553 PSF. As for the 3-bedroom unit at 947 square feet, initial sale PSF is 2,400 PSF. So if you haven't watched this, go and watch my other video where I talk about a new launch strategy and why it should change. It's because a couple of years ago, developers actually put a higher PSF for the 2 and the 1-bedroom because there's more demand for those unit types. So PSF for those unit types are a little bit higher as compared to the 3 and the 4-bedrooms. Usually they start at a lower selling PSF, and in this case, 2,400 PSF for the small 3-bedroom. If you look into the resale price, you can see that actually right now, PSF for the 3-bedroom has surpassed the 2-bedroom resale PSF as well. So it's natural that for the 3-bedroom buyers, they did make more money because there's a bigger growth in their PSF overall. And of course, because the size of the unit is also bigger. So next, if we look into Royal Green recent transaction, we can see that their 2-bedroom at 667 square feet has sold at $1.92 million, yielding a profit of $121,000. The 3-bedroom here, 3-bedroom premium, has sold at 3.108 and 3.038 million, and this gives them a profit of between 130 to 210,000. And we have one 4-bedroom transaction that sold at $3.98 million, and this has actually made a loss of $66,000, which is very interesting because in the last slide, what we see is that the 3 and the 4 bedrooms typically has done better. So you expect this to be the case. But sometimes for freehold developments, because there's not a lot of transaction, people buying there maybe are thinking more for legacy. So they are holding on to the units for a little bit longer. They are not looking for a short-term flip, which is why without the increase in transactions, sometimes the prices may not grow as quickly as well, which could explain the loss here. But if we go back into looking at the 2-bedroom, we can see that the initial launch PSF here is 2,697. And for the same time period, if you enter in the 3-bedroom here, the PSF is actually 2,700. On quite a similar level, but this time the 3-bedroom is a little bit higher. It could be because the 3-bedroom are a more well sought after unit type for Bukit Timah, and especially because Royal Green is freehold. So now that we have seen some of the prices at Royal Green and 4th Avenue residences, what is going to be the price for Dunearn House and how do we stack up in comparison? Firstly, what you want to know is that Dunearn House is a harmonized development, so PSF wise is likely to look a little bit higher. So we don't really have an idea of where the developers will start yet. So here I'm going to use 3,000 PSF, 3,150 PSF and 3,300 PSF as an estimation. So from 3,000 PSF, the 2-bed 1-bath should start from $1.581 million all the way to $1.739 million. 2-bed 2-bath room maybe from the 1.84 range all the way to slightly above $2 million. 2-bed 2-bath plus study will be from 1.97 all the way to $2.23 million. 3-bedroom $2.6 million all the way to $2.87 million. 3-bedroom plus flexi $2.8 million all the way to $3.088 million. 3-bedroom plus study from $2.8 million all the way to $3.19 million. Then the bigger bedroom types, 3-bedroom premium here, slightly above $3 million to $3.3 million. 4-bedroom from 3.5 all the way to $3.9 million. 4-bedroom premium starting from 3.9 all the way to $4.3 million plus. 4-bedroom plus study from 4.1 all the way to $4.5 million. So this is just an estimation. Once the indicative pricing is out, I will drop it down in the comment section below and then you can have a look. So if we just look into the prices at a glance, you can say that yes, prices for Dunearn House will likely be more expensive than 4th Avenue Residences and Royal Green. However, there is a slight market shift over the past couple of years. Something that's very different from 2019 and 2020 is that there's a shifting sentiment of buying a core central region property for local Singaporean buyers. So why we say that is because if you look into the graph here, you can see that average PSF for core central region prices in 2019 is actually 46.9% higher than the rest of central region. And if you look into 2026 today, the average PSF for a core central region property is only 19.4% higher as compared to the rest of central region. So the gap has significantly closed between the rest of central region and the core central region. And last year, when we look into the launches, we can see that there's a shifting sentiment of now Singaporean buyers looking into the core central region as well. Because if prices have become really, really close, then people are also thinking, then why not I pick a location that's a little bit more convenient, that makes sense for me for my day-to-day lifestyle. Because if you expect there's always going to be a gap between the different regions, there might be a growth potential for the core central region to move up. And to give you an idea of what I mean by the gap, if we look into a 2-bedroom at 4th Avenue Residences in October 2020, you're buying in anywhere between $1.58 to $1.6 million. And if you compare it to Sterling Residences then, which is in the rest of Central Region, in 2020, you can buy in at a price of 1.4 all the way to $1.445 million. So that gap roughly is around $183,000 or $232 price gap. And if you look into the 3-bedroom, same thing. In 2019, you can buy into a 4th Avenue Residences 3-bedroom at anywhere from $2.18 to $2.273 million. For Sterling Residences, then you can buy in from the $1.6 million range all the way to $1.765 million. So this is actually a really big contrast. For the 3-bedroom, price entry could be between $500,000 difference or $424 PSF price gap. And if we look into the 4-bedroom here, same thing. 4th Avenue Residences, you're buying the 4-bedroom, then your entry price could be between $3.5 million all the way to $3.59 million. And if you're buying a Sterling Residences 4-bedroom, then you're buying anywhere between $2.38 to $2.39 million. Your price entry gap is more than $1.1 million or $600 PSF price gap. You can see that there's a stark contrast, especially for the bigger unit types for a core central region property versus the rest of central region property. And what I'm going to show you is the projected price for Dunearn House. I split it in the middle at 3,150 PSF versus Penrith, which is a rest of central region property that sold towards the end of last year. So for the 2-bed 2-bath here, unit size for Dunearn House 614 square feet. For Penrith is 678 square feet. Dunearn House, if it's at a 3,150 PSF, is $1.9 million. Penrith, their 2-bed 2-bath has sold in the range of $1.668 million all the way to slightly above $2 million. If you look into the 3-bedroom with shelter here, Dunearn House 872 to 936 square feet. That's the smaller one. At 3,150 PSF, this will be from 2.74 million all the way to 2.94 million dollars. Penrith at 936 square feet, their selling price from 2.43 all the way to 2.83 million dollars. 4-bedroom here, 1184 square feet for Dunearn House versus 1173 square feet for Penrith. So Dunearn House at 3,150 PSF is $3.7 million. And then for Penrith, it's from 3.07 million all the way to 3.622 million dollars. So if you can see here, the price gap is not so significant. Of course, you can tell me that because Penrith is 40 stories high, but what we want to look at is the potential entry price here. What I'm taking is 3,150, and I know quite confidently that the developers will definitely launch from quite a lower range. So if you're looking at it from a 3,150 and below, you can see that the prices actually do cross over for certain unit types. If you think that the core central region is better value land in the future, is this an opportunity for you to buy into the core central region today? Possibly, because the rest of central region prices are also very, very high and could be comparable to what the developers are selling for core central region today. And next up, we're going to talk through the layouts for Dunearn House and compare it against 4th Avenue Residences and Royal Green. So, looking into the 2-bed 1-bath layout and 2-bed 2-bath layout, 2-bed 1-bath for Dunearn House is at 527 square feet, 2-bed 2-bath from 614 square feet. What I really like and what I really appreciate is that the developer has also included an enclosed kitchen for the 2-bed 1-bath, which is really, really, really rare. And for the 2-bed 2-bath, it's also going to be a dumbbell layout, very efficient, 614 square feet. And what we are expecting here for the 2-bed 1-bath prices to come in between 1.58 all the way to 1.739 billion dollars. 2-bed 2-bath from 1.84 to slightly above $2 million. And if we compare this with 4th Avenue Residences, firstly is the 2-bed 1-bath. Actually, for the 2-bed 1-bath at 4th Avenue Residences, one thing is that they have a bigger balcony. Secondly, they only have a galley kitchen, like a kitchenette. So if you are looking at the overall living aspect and future resellability, I would say that Dunearn House layout makes a lot more sense. Then next, we have to look into the pricing because Dunearn House expectation is between 1.58 to slightly above $1.7 million. What we've seen here is that there's a few transactions at 4th Avenue Residences. 2-bed 1-bath have already sold at $1.6+ million range. There's one outlier here that sold for $1.38 million. That's only one transaction. So if we ignore that, most of the pricing here comes in between 1.6 to $1.66 million. So if you're looking at that price range and if you come into Dunearn House at that price range, I would say relatively safe because you are buying in at a much newer development with a much better layout. And if you look into the 2-bed 1-bath at Royal Green as well, 635 square feet and 721 square feet, these are all non-harmonized, although yes, 721 is a little bit bigger. Again, both doesn't come with an enclosed kitchen, and I feel like if I talk about future resellability and living, I do think that having an enclosed kitchen makes a very big difference for the unit. If we look into their resale pricing here, because this is also freehold, 635 square feet anywhere between 1.798 to 1.8 million dollars, 721 square feet from 1.878 all the way to slightly above $2 million. If you're asking me, I do think that lease does not really matter for now unless you're looking for it to be a legacy property. So if the entry price for Dunearn House still comes in a bit more attractive, I will still pick Dunearn House even if I'm going for the 2-bed 1-bath. So moving on into the 2-bed 2-bath, if you are looking at 4th Avenue Residences, the layouts is at 689, 710 and 721 square feet. Again, what I don't really like about the layout is not having the enclosed kitchen, especially if you look at the 710, 721 layout. The kitchen is, I don't know, it's just a very weird way of having the kitchen once you step in and then having a dining really at that side, which is kind of weird. But if you look into the resale pricing, interestingly, They are sold anywhere between 1.7 million to 1.928 million. So resale prices there is still quite high. And if we look into Royal Green here, 667 to 721 square feet. Similarly, layout not the best, but from 1.73 to 1.92 million dollars. If you look into the two-bedroom, I would say Dunearn House definitely wins in terms of the layout. What we have to see is entry price. If you're coming in for the two-bedroom at like way above $2 million, then maybe you should look into somewhere else if you're an investor to buy into a two-bedroom. But of course, if you're buying for your own stay, it really depends if you would definitely need to be in the Bukit Timah stretch, because for a lot of the two-bedroom there, they are also bigger size, bigger layout. So even though they are freehold, you can be paying anywhere between $2.3 million to $2.5 million for that. And then Dunearn House will overall still give you a better entry if your budget is tight. And next is the 2-bed, 2-bath plus study. So for Dunearn House, the layout is anywhere between 657 square feet all the way to 678 square feet. Expected price here will be between 1.971 million to 2.237 million dollars. So what I do like about this layout is that it's in a traditional 2-bedroom layout. To be honest, over the past couple of months, I think when I was searching for my house, I've grown to really like the traditional layout because that's what my house is going to be. You actually have the extra wall line in the living room that can use fully if you want to build cabinetry, if you want to put a bigger couch. I think that is possible. So for here, you can see that the good thing about this layout is that the study and the dining area, that wall in between is hackable. So if you don't need a dedicated study, you can knock it down. That will make the dining area a lot more usable. Then I do think that this will be actually a really, really good 2-bedroom layout for its size. And the only difference between the smaller 2-bedroom plus study layout and the bigger 2-bedroom plus study layout is the entranceway. For the bigger one, you have sort of a foyer area, but for the smaller one, you're just looking directly into it. Another unique thing about this 2-bed plus study is that the toilets and the kitchen all comes with a window. So it'll be naturally ventilated, which is very rare to find for a 2-bedroom nowadays. And if we look into the competition, there's only Royal Green, which is a direct competition. They have a 721 to 775 square feet 2-bedroom plus study and a 818 square feet 2-bedroom plus study. If you don't want something that doesn't come with an enclosed kitchen, then your only other option in terms of the newer developments in the area will be Royal Green's 818 square feet 2-bedroom plus study, because this comes with a sizable study and also an enclosable kitchen. And if we look into the pricing, is from $2.28 million to $2.35 million. So it's comparison to what Dunearn House 2-bedroom plus study could be going for. There might be a bit of a price gap here, so going for Dunearn House could still be something for you to consider depending on the developer's pricing. And next, we'll talk about the 3-bedroom at Dunearn House. So for the 3-bedroom, the smaller ones is at 872 square feet and 936 square feet. What I really, really like is that the developer has given us a home shelter even for the smallest 3-bedroom unit at 872 square feet. And for the 936 square feet, you can see that the flexi area is open. You can come in from the living room area and also from the kitchen. So it gives you a flexibility for the use of space, which could be great because this extra space could actually be a study, storage, for a helper's area, however you want to use it. This would also come with an additional WC, which would be very helpful. For the expected price, this could come in between $2.6 million all the way to $3.088 million. Next, we go into the slightly bigger layout. So the 3-bedroom plus study, this will come in between 947 to 969 square feet. What I really like is that this layout would have come with a home shelter and where the study is actually placed. Because if you realize where the study is placed, it's actually right outside the master bedroom. So there's the option of bringing the master bedroom door slightly to the front, and then that study could actually form part of your master bedroom as well. So what this means is that you can have a walk-in wardrobe or a vanity inside your master bedroom. So I do like the flexibility of the layout. I do like that they've planned it out this way. And for the 1,000 square feet 3-bedroom premium, this is where the layouts are a little bit more traditional. You have a dry kitchen and a wet kitchen area. So if you love hosting, I think the dry kitchen area would be nice for you to prepare your snacks. You have a bar to host people, and then you have a slightly bigger yard area at the back. And for the expected pricing for this layouts here will come in anywhere between $2.84 million all the way to $3.3 million. So how does this compare to 4th Avenue Residences and Royal Green? So for these two developments, we are only taking the bigger 3-bedroom units to compare. For 4th Avenue Residences, they have layouts at 1,076 square feet and 1,109 to 1,130 square feet. So this layouts here also comes with a study and a yard area, and they have been sold recently at $2.82 million for the 1,076 square feet unit. And for the 1,109 to 1,130 square feet, they've been sold from $2.975 million to $3.15 million. So you can see that there's going to be a price overlap with the potential starting price for Dunearn House. The only difference here is that the layout for the 4th Avenue Residences 3-bedroom has 2 balconies. So for some people, this might be a little bit of a waste because you don't really need 2 balconies, especially one in your master bedroom. So for Dunearn House, you get more usable indoor space, which could be a better choice if the price is similar. If we look into Royal Green here, Royal Green is a freehold development. Their 3-bedroom premium sizes come from 1,044 square feet and 1,066 square feet to 1,076 square feet. So the recent sale price here is anywhere between $3.038 million to $3.18 million. So if you look into the price, I would say very similar to what we see for 4th Avenue Residences, potentially similar to Dunearn House too. But we'll see actual usable space will be comparable or slightly smaller than Dunearn House because this is a non-harmonized development. But if you're looking for something that's freehold, then Royal Green could still give you quite a good value for what you are paying. So the last bedroom types that we're going to talk about is the 4-bedroom at Dunearn House, starting with the 1,184 square feet layout. What is great about this layout is that it will be the perfect balance in terms of entry price and livability. What you have here is a landscape living and dining, which is very, very much well sought after for people looking for own stay. And also you technically do get the 3rd toilet, which is at the back, the additional WCs. Unless you really need additional 3rd toilet to share between the common rooms, this additional WC at the back could actually be your 3rd toilet. You get everything you need within 1,184 square feet. Super efficient. Expected entry price here is from $3.55 million to $3.9 million. And just to give you a reference, is that a 4-bedroom resale at Lentor Modern at Lentor, which is an OCR property, has already sold at $3.8 million. So for you to come in between this range for a new property in Bukit Timah, this is potentially a very, very good entry price. Next is a slightly bigger layout, is where if you need the 3rd bath to be shared between the common rooms, you can look at this. It's between 1,302 square feet and 1,313 square feet. You still get the landscape living dining. Your kitchen is a little bit different. It's a little bit more open concept where you have an island in the middle and you have an additional yard space also. 2 of the common bedrooms here will share bathroom number 2, and then the 4th bedroom will have bathroom number 3. So technically, all the bedrooms here have their own bathroom. Alright, so the expected price here will be between $3.9 million all the way to $4.3 million. And the biggest 4-bedroom layout we have here is a 4-bedroom plus study at 1,378. This is just marginally bigger than the last layout that we saw. The only difference is that you have the additional study area that's carved outside the master bedroom. So potential pricing here slightly above $4 million, starting from $4.1 million all the way to $4.5 million. How does this compare? So if we look into 4th Avenue Residences and Royal Green, the 4-bedroom there are also slightly bigger at 1,400 plus square feet. So at 1,400 plus square feet, if we look into 4th Avenue Residences, the layout is from 1,475 to 1,496 square feet. So the last transacted price here is at $3.88 million, slightly below what Dunearn House will be starting from. If you look into this particular layout, they do have a very big balcony also, which eats into the actual usable space of the unit. This might not be something that people are looking for because they want to prioritize inside space versus outside space. And if we look into Royal Green here, they have 4-bedroom at 1,432 square feet to 1,475 square feet. Latest transaction is at $3.98 million. So depending on how Dunearn House starts, resale prices could be a little bit lower or similar to Dunearn House. And if you're looking for freehold status, then Dunearn House would definitely not be the one for you. Then you can be looking at something like Royal Green, this layout, slightly around the $4 million mark. You might still be able to find something to enter into the market today. So overall, if you ask me, I feel like Dunearn House is an interesting project because I do believe that with the Turf City transformation, that land value there will only get higher and more people would like to move in once it's really done up. If we look into where the land bid is for next year, Wing Tai next door has bid at a much higher price. The selling price will realistically need to be higher as well. If you break down into the specific unit types, I think for a 2-bedroom buyer today, if you're buying to Dunearn House, I do think that it will be harder to flip in a shorter period of time, although our layout actually is more decent than 4th Avenue Residence and Royal Green. So I think for people prioritizing livability, if the developer is not aggressive, then there is a potential that they might pick Dunearn House over the other two developments. For the 3-bedroom, I still see an opportunity in terms of price point wise to come in quite competitively for us to have a shorter term exit. So for the 4-bedroom unit, I think the opportunity probably lies with the smaller 4-bedroom layout at 1,184 square feet, because for the resale developments around, even at 4th Avenue Residences at Royal Green, the layouts are a little bit bigger, so their asking price could be a little bit bigger, and that gap could be anywhere between $300,000 to $400,000. So that could still be an opportunity for a shorter term flip. But for the bigger unit types where the pricing could come in similarly with the resale developments, then it might be a little bit harder to let go at a shorter period of time, especially because people can choose a development like Royal Green if they want something that is freehold. That being said, for people who are considering Dunearn House, you have to ask yourself whether you believe in the Turf City transformation. If need be, could you hold this property for a little bit longer for the transformation to come in? So what we really have to see now is how the developer price it, and once we have the actual indicative price, it will be easier for me to recommend, it will be easier for me to advise you based on that. If you're on the fence for Dunearn House today, feel free to reach out to me via my WhatsApp number so we can chat directly and I can understand a little bit more about your requirements. And once the price is out, I'll be able to better advise you on whether Dunearn House is a yes or a no. So that's all from me today, and I'll see you the next time. Bye.